Abrahamic Religions, A Divine Encounter in America. Could you please tell us a little bit about the origin and background to the film?
Yes, well, we have made two other documentaries. This is the third part of the trilogy. The first one was Jews and Christians, A Journey of Faith. The second film was Three Faiths, One God, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And the third part of the trilogy is the Asian Religions documentary. And we had a premiere screening of Three Faiths, One God. In fact, IFC hosted the screening. Uh, and afterwards, during the dialogue, D.C. Rao, who was a Hindu, uh, asked me to accept the challenge of making a film that focused on the Asian religions and to go on that journey with him. And we accepted the challenge and started this journey. And that took us about 3 years to make this documentary.
So, as someone who, I guess, films religion and not so much a scholar of religion,
Right.
seeing these two groups, the Asian and Abrahamic religions, interact in America, where did you see the points of contention? Where did the practitioners of these two traditions, or these two very different, I guess, trends and traditions, butt heads or converge,
I
diverge?
think that it's too dramatic in terms of the whole idea of butting heads or contention. In terms of the people we interviewed, and I always call it rounding up the usual suspects. The film was never meant to be kumbaya, we're all the same. And yes, the differences were clearly represented in terms of what the differences are between the religions, obviously. But the similarities between the religions in terms of the rituals and the practices, like in Catholicism, the monastic life, for example. I was surprised to learn that when the Catholics first went to India and to the Asian territories to try to convert, they were very taken by the monastic life that was practiced there. They were practicing monasticism, but they actually learned a lot, as I understood it from Father Tiso. They learned a lot from the Buddhist monastic life in terms of some of the rituals and practices. And in fact, in the documentary, we do a comparison of a day in the life of the monks at St. Anselm's, and then went to a Buddhist retreat in West Virginia. So in answer to your question, we did do gods, God or no God, or gods or gods, which dealt with, a lot of, many people feel or think that Hindus worship many gods, whereas what comes out in the film is that Rabbi Rosen kind of kosherizes them, or and the Jewish hierarchy of rabbis kosherizes Hinduism and say, no. There is one higher deity above all of these gods. And so, at least it was a discovery for me that the Hindus really only worship, as I understand it, one god, but all of these deities are representative of the higher deity, the higher God, the one God. So I use that as an example that we did not feel there was contention between them, but nor do we. We're not investigative. We don't make our films that way. We're not. It's not kumbaya. We deal with the differences in many different areas. Obviously, in the monastic life, the Buddhists are contemplating about Buddha. Catholics are focusing on Jesus. And that was another section of the film, which was God or no God. So, but we do not get in, we're not, this is not investigative, and nor are we looking for conflict in that area. We're just looking to kind of document relationship and what is thought about it. And I guess one of the ways that we keys the way we work in terms of all of our films is, that, if a Hindu says we only worship one God, it's not going to be the same as if a rabbi says it. If as a, we were led on to the Buddhist monastic life by a Catholic priest, Father Tisa, never would have thought about that connection. So, Bishop Chain, very articulate in terms of all he feels that the Protestants should learn about Asian religions, and sometimes talked about his flock being closed-minded at times, or certain members being not really thinking about that, and challenging them to think about this and to get to know their neighbor. And so we find that this is a powerful antidote. And of course, we had a guru talking about all of the similarities that Hindus have. The bells, they even have something that could be compared to rosary, just incense, all the things that are used in all of the religions. So now, this has been a big learning. I'm a filmmaker. In fact, I was asked to make it because I'm not religious. I just an ombudsman for a public television audience, and I'm learning through through this experience, and continue to learn. So I can only speak from my own humble, modest learning experience. I am not a theologian. I don't purport to be. I'm just a showbiz guy who happened to kind of fall into this whole thing. I mean, the main thing I have to do is do my homework. Make sure that when I interview somebody that I've read as much as I can about what this person represents and what they've written about and what they think about it, and come up with the right questions for them. Now, I was blessed to have D.C. Rao as my guru, my own personal guru on this, and he was really a blessing to me in terms of making sure that I got it right in terms of the making. That's the big challenge for me, is getting it right. But don't forget, I was dealing with Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, and then the three Abrahamic religions. So I'm but it's more than a 3-ring circus. It was a 7-ring circus. I mean, to get all of that right. And did I get it? I'm sure there's those who say, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do the other thing. But given the challenge of a 2-hour film, which we shot about close to 150 hours worth of film to get it down to 2 hours, at least the feedback we're getting is people are comfortable with what we did, and on the whole think, in quotes, their religions were represented properly, and we got it right.
So to sum up, just how we've been talking is that, so it seems that your basic experience of this has been a learning experience,
Precisely.
and that it seems that the most important thing is that at a practical level, among neighbors, among colleagues, is to learn and to educate each other, and in that way to overcome the obstacles that you saw in this. I mean,
what my goal is to, and the goal and the reason to make the film was for people to, in terms of stereotypes that they may have about the other, or misconceptions, or lumping all of the Asian religions together, and they are so very different within each of their religions. It's really, my films are about understanding, getting the other to understand, and to use the films as a catalyst for dialogue. Because normally, if you have a theatrical screening, it's then meant to have there to be conversation afterwards. So these are departure points, because the film can't do it all.